A 2-night Disneyland Paris vacation cost my family $4,333, and that was before we even arrived. Flights from California? Not included. Premier access to skip the lines? Not included. Merchandise, snacks, and several of our other meals? Also not included. So $4,333 was not the final cost of this vacation. It was just the price to get through the door. And then, during our only full day in the parks, Pirates of the Caribbean never opened. Neither did Peter Pan. And the nighttime drone and fireworks spectacular, the show we planned our entire evening around, was canceled. So after paying flagship Disney prices for a vacation that kept losing its biggest experiences, I had to ask, was Disneyland Paris worth over $4,300? Or did the perfect photos fool me? To answer that, I'm putting Disneyland Paris against the original Disneyland in California, not just to see which park looks better, but which one actually gives your family the better vacation. Because Disneyland Paris does some things better than almost any Disney park on Earth, but it also has weaknesses that rarely appear in the perfect photos online. By the end, we'll decide whether Disneyland Paris is a once-in-a-lifetime destination, a one-day side trip while you're already in France, or an expensive Disney vacation you can safely skip. And the final score was not close. This is Park vs. Park. Chapter 1: Why does everyone love Disneyland Paris? Before I tear this place apart, let's be fair. Disneyland Paris makes an incredible first impression. The park feels less like Disneyland and more like a slightly smaller Magic Kingdom. The pathways are wider, the landscaping is better, and you don't constantly feel like a stroller is about to remove your Achilles tendon. Then you see the castle. Anaheim's castle is historic. Paris's castle isn't just something you photograph, it's an attraction all by itself. And you walk through the interior, explore the stained glass galleries and storybook details, and then step onto the balcony overlooking Fantasyland. Incredible. Then you head underneath it, into a dark cavern where Disney casually placed a massive animatronic dragon. And this isn't some motionless prop hidden in the shadows. It moves, growls, lifts its head and breathes smoke into the cavern around you. And it may be the most impressive feature inside any Disney castle in the world, because apparently a normal castle just wasn't French enough. Frontierland is also fantastic. It feels like one complete world rather than a few Western attractions placed next to each other. Discoveryland has an actual identity instead of looking like Tomorrowland received another temporary coat of paint. And almost everywhere you point the camera, Disneyland Paris looks spectacular. Paris wins the Instagram photo, but a family vacation is more than just a photo. And problems began when I stopped photographing Disneyland Paris and started writing it. Chapter 2: What did $4,300 actually buy? First, let's talk about the price. Our package included 2 nights at the Disneyland Hotel, Disneyland Paris park tickets, and half-board dining. When I priced a comparable Anaheim trip with 2 nights at the Disneyland Hotel, similar park tickets, and money for the same basic meals, it came in just under $4,000, about $350 less than Paris. And for American travelers, the dollar's weakness against the euro makes the Paris price sting even more. But honestly, the $350 difference isn't the biggest problem. The problem is that Disneyland Paris charges roughly the same price as Disneyland. The real difference is the airfare. For a family traveling from California, Disneyland is a short flight, or even a road trip. Disneyland Paris requires 4 international plane tickets, a much longer journey, and several days of a European vacation. So Disneyland Paris can't simply be as good as Disneyland. It has to offer experiences that make it worth traveling halfway around the world. Once you look beyond the perfect Instagram photos, does it actually do that? That's where the biggest problem with this vacation started to appear. Chapter 3: Is it worth flying across the ocean for the rides? Every time I approach an attraction I already knew from California, I ask myself the same question. Is it different enough to justify spending limited vacation time on it? For Big Thunder Mountain? Absolutely. Paris places the mountain on an island in the middle of the river, and trains race through long tunnels just to reach it. The entire ride feels bigger, more adventurous, and more dramatic than Anaheim's version. This may be the best Big Thunder Mountain Disney has ever built. Then there's Phantom Manor. It's darker than Haunted Mansion, its story connects directly to Frontierland, and it feels different enough that Disneyland regulars should absolutely experience it. However, did I think it was better than Anaheim's Haunted Mansion? No. Disneyland's version is more charming, more entertaining, and more fun to ride again and again. But Phantom Manor isn't trying to be the same experience, and that is exactly what makes it worth your time. And then there's Hyperspace Mountain, another attraction that feels completely different from its California counterpart. It launches, goes upside down, and is dramatically more intense than Disneyland Space Mountain. I'm glad I experienced it once, but I would still choose Disneyland Space Mountain. It's smoother, less aggressive, and simply more fun, especially when it has the classic retro soundtrack and atmosphere. Hyperspace Mountain feels like a thrill ride. Disneyland Space Mountain feels more like Disney. So by the end of the trip, my entire must-do list for Disneyland regulars had shrunk just to 3 things: Big Thunder Mountain, Phantom Manor, and Hyperspace Mountain. That's really it. Buzz Lightyear felt identical to Anaheim's version. Star Tours also felt just as identical. And after flying from California to France, basically the same is not a compliment. Then we rode It's a Small World. And I'm sorry, Paris fans, but Anaheim's version is much better. And Tokyo Disneyland's is even better than Anaheim's. Paris wasn't different enough to feel fresh. And the differences it did have didn't improve it. Pirates might have helped Paris, but it wasn't available every time we checked. Peter Pan might have helped too, but also unavailable. So once we finished these 3 essential experiences, I started wondering how much Disneyland Paris was actually left. Chapter 4. Is Disneyland Paris really a multi-day destination? This is where the difference between the parks becomes impossible to ignore. Using the same ride-only rules for both parks, I counted roughly 36 ride experiences in Anaheim. Paris had about 21. You can disagree over 1 or 2 borderline attractions, you cannot invent 15 additional rides. And when I narrowed down the list to the major attractions people plan their day around, Anaheim still had nearly twice as many. That doesn't mean every Anaheim ride is better, it means Anaheim gives you more options. If one attraction breaks, you move on to another. If the park is crowded, you can find something else. If your children reject your carefully planned itinerary because they suddenly need to ride Winnie the Pooh 5 times, the park can absorb that chaos. Paris has less room for things to go wrong, and things went wrong for us. Pirates and Peter Pan were down all day. To Paris's credit, the attractions that were operating generally had more manageable waits than what we normally see at Anaheim. But it also felt easier to run out of things we genuinely wanted to do. Paris gives its attractions more breathing room. Anaheim gives you more attractions. And on a multi-day vacation, I'll take the second one. Chapter 5. Did the hotel and food save it? The Disneyland Hotel at Disneyland Paris has an almost unbeatable advantage: its location. You are basically sleeping on top of the park entrance. And visually, the hotel is stunning. The exterior is beautiful, the lobby is beautiful, our room was beautiful. Even the lobby scent was incredible. And hotel guests can buy it as a home fragrance, which is actually a pretty unique Disneyland Paris souvenir. Everything about the hotel looks like it should feel luxurious. But somehow it doesn't. It feels formal, dated, and a little stuffy, not elegant the same way the Grand Floridian feels. More like a hotel that is trying very hard to remind you how expensive it is. Then we went to the Royal Banquet Buffet located inside the hotel. Shockingly, it is the most disappointing character meal I've ever experienced at any Disney park. The dining room looked beautiful, but the food was bland, the character interactions felt rushed, and nothing about the experience matched the premium price for a flagship hotel setting. We also expected to meet 4 characters. We initially only saw 1 after an hour, and only after asking for help we managed to see 2 more, but we still missed Mickey Mouse. At a premium character dinner inside Disney's flagship hotel, it is a major letdown. Half-board dining sounds better than it actually is. Because we had already prepaid for the meals, we weren't always asking, where do we actually want to eat? We were asking, where can we use these meal credits without wasting money? That is not how I want to choose a dinner on a $4,300 vacation. Disneyland food can also be expensive and disappointing. I'm not pretending every Anaheim meal is life-changing, but Anaheim gives my family far more restaurants where we generally want to eat. Paris gave us beautiful rooms to eat disappointing food inside. We did luck up, however, at one dining reservation. Regal View was the complete opposite. The restaurant itself was beautiful, the service was excellent, and each plate of food represented a Disney princess, which was fun to guess. But what really made the experience special were the characters. The interactions felt personal, relaxed, and genuinely entertaining instead of rushed. We've experienced almost every character dining meal at Disney World, and Regal View may have been the best character dining experience our family has ever had at any Disney park. It was expensive, but unlike Royal Buffet, this actually felt worth it. But good luck snagging a reservation here. There's a reason it's so popular, because everything else is a lesser experience. Chapter 6. Was Disneyland Paris worth it? So was Disneyland Paris terrible? Not exactly. It may be one of the most visually impressive Disney parks in the world. Its castle is much more impressive than Anaheim's castle, even Magic Kingdom's. Its Big Thunder Mountain is incredible, Phantom Manor is essential, Hyperspace Mountain is wild, and the dragon underneath the castle is something every Disney fan should see at least once. But does that justify building a premium 2-night international vacation around it? For my family, absolutely not. Not at $4,332.73 before the extras, which we did exceed $6,000 for just 2 nights. Not with fewer rides, not with 2 major attractions unavailable during our stay, not with the nighttime spectacular crippled, and not when so many of the rides that remained felt similar to or weaker than the version we already had in California. Disneyland Paris wins the Insta-Reel. Anaheim wins the vacation. Chapter 7. The actual recommendation. Would I tell people never to visit Disneyland Paris? Absolutely not. If you're already visiting France, make it a day trip. Enjoy the castle, explore the lands, ride Big Thunder, Phantom Manor, and Hyperspace Mountain, visit the dragon, and treat the familiar clones as optional. What I do not recommend is spending more than $4,300 building an entire premium vacation around it. I paid that price and learned the lesson. You don't have to. There are many better options like Disneyland, Walt Disney World, or if you want to go to an international park, go to Tokyo Disneyland and Disney Sea. You'll thank me later. Now that we crowned a winner and we got the final recommendation out of the way, some of you are probably wondering just how big the gap really was. I originally planned a longer version of this video with a scorecard, and when I finished it, Disneyland had actually won 15-5, basically triple the score of Disneyland Paris. And honestly, that feels about right, and it may even be a little too generous to Disneyland Paris. Because once you include Disney Adventure World, I think Disneyland Paris has 2 of the weakest Disney parks anywhere in the world. So do you think I'm completely wrong? Is Phantom Manor better than Haunted Mansion? And is anyone prepared to defend Disneyland Paris? Tell me in the comments. And for future Disney comparisons without the automatic pixie dust filter, please subscribe. This is Park vs. Park.